Welcome, it's Dome, and welcome to this crypto update. Now, today we're actually going to look at the technical analysis first, and then we will look at the news, the fundamentals, and also we're going to look at some Google trends at the end of the video. So stick around for that. But just for a technical analysis, in my previous update, I said that it's likely that we go down here to like even 88K because there's a liquidation pocket in this area. Also, it basically is a perfect bounce from this basically previous resistance line. But now we have a new resistance line basically forming here at $95,700. So if you want to make a quick trade, you can make a conditional trade basically above 95K and then basically exit roughly at 97K, where is another liquidation pocket, which I will show you at the end of the video. But basically, if we go and break this high, then it's likely that the price continues for a couple $1,000s more. But still, there's this liquidation pocket down here, which I think will also get filled eventually. Also, when we go to the daily view and we look at the RSI, you can see that we had this beautiful breakout on the RSI here. I already told you guys that the momentum was shifting when we first saw the breakout here on the RSI, and now we have had a clear breakout basically to the top of this 70 level on RSI. And typically when we see these breakouts, let me actually take out the volume for now. When we see these breakouts, what tends to happen is that Bitcoin price goes to the nearby or near to the 70 level here on the RSI, and then it basically retraces back to almost to 50 level. And that is typically where we will see the basically the last lows before a parabolic move to the upside. So that basically has happened here. We went back to the 50 level, then we went back to 70 level. We had basically a fake out to the downside, back to 70 level, and then one final push to the 50 level here, and then the parabolic move started. And right now we have not had a pullback move back to anywhere nearby this 50 level here on the RSI. So in my opinion, it is still likely that we go and tag these lows before we have that parabolic move to the upside. So be mindful that it is likely that we go to the downside, even though this liquidation pocket up here looks very, very juicy in the short term. But that's basically the technical analysis I have for you guys. For now, pretty much the same thing is still true. I still expect to be to go down here. I just don't know which one will happen first. We go to 97K first, or we will pull back to this area here first. That is my base case. Obviously, I have been wrong many times in the past, but that is kind of my thesis at the moment. Now, going into the news, the biggest news that we got is actually MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor. He actually went ahead and bought $1.42 billion worth of Bitcoin at an average price of $92.737. This is an amazing accumulation, and now Saylor and Strategy, they own about 2.6% of the total Bitcoin supply. So this accumulation continues and continues and continues, and more companies that are applying this Bitcoin strategic reserve strategy are also massively buying. So fundamentally speaking, Bitcoin is getting stronger and stronger. And then a new company called Sophie, which previously allowed a Bitcoin trading and Bitcoin holding for their customers, 10 million customers, they actually had to drop that service in 2023 because of Biden administration. But now the cases have been dropped, and now they can actually implement these trading opportunities for their customers once again. So I don't know if it will mean any immediate inflows into Bitcoin, but again, the potential for more inflows is now again available. So this is a good news. Then another piece of good news is that World Liberty Fi, this is the Donald Trump backed crypto project, they have now actually crossed a $2 billion mark in their stablecoin market cap, and here it is the USD1 stablecoin. Now this is fully backed, and it is institution ready stablecoin. It has all the regulatory approvals, obviously, because it is affiliated with Donald Trump, but now the supply is at $2.1 billion. Let's see how it goes from here, but this is something very important to look at, obviously. And as there are more use cases for USD1, that it will obviously be something interesting to look at yield opportunities and these kind of things. But anyway, this is bullish news, means that the more stablecoins are being transacted on blockchain, the more fees it generates on blockchain, and the more valuable blockchains become. So blockchains that host USD1 obviously are in a good position, like Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain for now. Then uh, something interesting is going on in the United States. You know that Doge has been trying to cut government spending all throughout this time, but going into the first 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency, the United States spent actually $220 billion more than last year. So despite all of these cuts, they seem to be just cuts against Donald Trump's rivals and the woke ideology, but all the other things, the neoconservatism, aid to Israel, all these things are still continuing. So the government is still spending more than it actually is gaining in revenue, which means eventually money printing, obviously. And for that, there also has been a report now, which basically just came out yesterday, that the US Treasury has quadrupled borrowing from estimates. So now they actually decided to borrow $514 billion between April and June, which is basically a 300% increase from its previous estimate of $123 billion. So this is again massive amounts of money printing, and it's basically devaluing the dollar. And I don't know what they plan to spend the money on. I did not read through all of this, but practically speaking, it means that the dollar is losing value against assets, most likely Bitcoin and obviously gold as well in the long run. So that is good news for Bitcoin investors. Then again, Arizona has actually passed a Bitcoin reserve bill from the House of Representatives. And this is now going further, but this does not mean yet that the Arizona is going to buy Bitcoin. It simply means that it has passed to the next phase. But if this completely passes the full Senate vote, then it allows the Treasury to invest up to 10% of its reserves into Bitcoin, or mainly Bitcoin, but other things as well. But there's still some opposition, obviously. For example, a governor, Katie Hobbs, has said that she will veto any bill until lawmakers have a serious bipartisan funding solution that protects healthcare for Arizonans with disabilities. So there's still some hurdles to go, and this is obviously something that is very good for the governor to think about, not just throw money at something that might go up in value later down the line, but to actually have a sustainable path to fund this Bitcoin strategic reserve. And this is now basically the second Bitcoin strategic reserve that has passed the House. For example, here New Hampshire says that they are expected to go into a full floor vote soon. I don't know what soon means. Does it mean May? Does it mean June? I don't know what that means. But all in all, these things are going along. And I do believe that some of these states will actually be able to pass this legislation this year. So let's see how that goes. But all in all, pretty good news. Now, for a maybe a little bit worse news is that when we take a look at the container bookings from China to USA, you can see a sharp drop of more than 40% going into April, which means that the companies and individuals in the United States have completely halted buying stuff from China. And this is true also from other countries. Now, this a lot of people are saying this is bringing jobs to the United States. So I want to spend just a little bit time on this because you have to understand the implications that this kind of drop has. This means as less imports go into USA, it means that dock workers have less jobs because obviously they have less containers to go through. It also means that truckers have less jobs to do because they have less stuff to move around. It also means that retailers like Walmart, Target, Home Depot, which about 50% of their stuff comes from China, they will have less stuff to sell to US customers. And because they have less stuff to sell, and because of the tariffs, that means that they have to basically increase prices on the tariffed goods that they do sell to their US customer base. And both of these things, higher prices and less stuff to sell, mean that they have to raise prices on even the non-tariffed stuff, because they need to cover the losses or the uh, non-realized profits, because they cannot sell the stuff as much as they used to before all of this tariff nonsense. So they have to make the profits elsewhere, which means that prices will rise up in basically all the goods that you are buying in the United States. So this is what many people don't understand about inflation and the secondary effects. And Donald Trump even, they basically came out and protested Amazon for even showing the import tariffs on goods that you would buy from Amazon. They came out and made a statement here that this is hostile and political act by Amazon. So after Donald Trump basically called Bezos, as far as the reports, if they are true or not, uh, after that call, Amazon basically dropped, and it will no longer show these import charges as part of the cost structure of the product that the people are buying. So now it's quite interesting that the Trump administration is saying that it is a political act or political violence to give customers accurate information of what they are buying and what the product actually costs, which is completely insane in my opinion, but I guess we have to get used to that over the next 4 years. But all in all, the tariffs will have an impact. And if you want to get protected against tariffs, you obviously should stock up now, before the supply shock hits, before all of the prices, basically, you start to see empty shelves and you start to see prices rise up because of the reasons I already explained here. You should stock up if you are in the United States. Now, if you are outside of the United States, then the good news are that most likely the stuff you are buying will go down in price, because suddenly you have a different supply shock, which is oversupply from China, which will now flow into other countries. So this supply shock, obviously it will over time, they will have reroutes from China to, I don't know, Vietnam or even to Europe, and from there to USA, so they can at least decrease the weight of these tariff sanctions or whatever. So I think it will take about 6 months for the United States economy to actually adjust to this new reality. And during this time, I think the biggest panic will happen in the first 2 and 3 months. But by quarter 3 of this year, I think we will have seen the most pain already. And then after all of the inflation wave has passed, I don't think we will see more inflation, but I don't think the prices will go down anymore after that, after the prices have already been raised higher and some of these tariffs are still in place. Now, things could still change. Obviously, the tariffs could be brought down, but I think the supply shock at least will still hit the markets. Uh, it is pretty much inevitable at this stage. The only question is how deep will the shock be. But all in all, I do believe that quarter 3 will be pretty bullish, and then I think the money printers will go back fully online and all these things. But I think there will have to be a shock event first for Trump to really basically kick in the gear and say, okay, now we invest in all this new supply, and they will have deals with Canada and Europe and all these things to basically get them at zero tariffs and all these things. I don't exactly know how it will play out. A lot of it is political, which is very hard to predict. But all in all, I do expect there will be a supply shock in within the next few months. Now, going into the actual fundamentals of Bitcoin, let's go and look at sentiment first. And on sentiment, we are witnessing more Bitcoin supply being taken out of exchanges. And this is super important because we are seeing Bitcoin being taken out of exchanges even as the price is still very, very high. So this is important. As you can see, some people were selling here, but then some are already snatching, basically FOMOing into Bitcoin, even as the price is still elevated. So this is giving me a clue that FOMO, real FOMO, is just around the corner. This is very, very good news. Also, when we take a look at the supply of or the market cap of stablecoins, you can see we have a new record number of 200, almost $12 billion worth of stablecoins across the different stablecoins, and this number does not include the USD one yet. I actually told the sentiment team that please add the USD one here as well, so I can add it into my dashboard here. But all in all, as this is growing, is very good for crypto and Bitcoin. We have seen some profit taking, but as you can see, it has completely lowered down from the first spike that we had to the upside here. So still some people are taking profits as price is going sideways, while others are accumulating. So that has been a net zero effect so far. I guess I should report on this. So when we take a look at, we have a change here on wallets that are holding 100 to 1000 Bitcoin. And these are wallets that are pretty much the ETF holders or ETFs have broken down their ETF holdings into these smaller wallets, and that is often this yellow line here. As you can see, they have actually been FOMOing into Bitcoin already. So I do expect that since this is now a clear trend shift, we have basically a new higher high here that they would continue to accumulate. But as price goes down, maybe some of them will want to take profits off, and that would be our dip. I don't know, but this is a nice trend shift here as well, witnessed on the charts. Also, 10,000 to 100,000 Bitcoin holders have actually bought back already at a higher price here. So that is quite interesting. I don't know what's really up with this, but they already bought back. I don't know if they got fidgety or what was going on, or if the 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin holding wallets and 10,000 to 100,000 Bitcoin holding wallets, if they did just some swapperoo here. I don't exactly know what is the reason why basically they are mirrors of each other. Now, going into a little bit smaller time frame, actually, before we look at this, let's go and take a look at the Google Trends now. So on Google Trends, this is very important for you guys to know. You saw here, and I told you guys on November that the retail investors are back, and then we saw less and less interest on Bitcoin globally, basically until January, and then we had our peak in basically when Donald Trump took office on January 20th. Since then, the interest on Bitcoin has just dwindled and dwindled down. Now the number of interest on Bitcoin is 20. And this is practically speaking the same number we saw before the parabolic rise after Donald Trump won the election. So retail investors are completely missing out as of now. They are not our buyers. So the buyers are pretty much large whales, investors, companies, or even countries. We don't know all of the accumulation that is going on, but retail investors are not here at the moment, which gives me the idea that we do have a chance for a blow of top or a significant price moves if retail investors actually do come back and start buying Bitcoin. Also on the red we see the interest in crypto, and as you can see here the number is 9, 9, even 8 basically at the start of April, which is again exactly the same that it was here before this parabolic rise to the upside. So retail investors are not here yet, and when they come, they will obviously be the exit liquidity for the smart capital. So again, this would signal that there is potential for a nice blow off top when retail investors eventually come back. Now going into a short-term fundamentals, first let's take a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. These are our liquidity zones. And as you can see here, basically going all the way to that $97,000 price of Bitcoin, we do have this liquidation pocket here. So this is the area where I think Bitcoin will be eventually obviously getting tapped, but in the short term, this might get tapped first. And then we have two liquidation pockets. First is here roughly at $90,000, and the second one would be basically below $82,000 to $80,000 all the way down here. Now some people are saying like 85K will be the price where Bitcoin will have a bounce, but I'm just wondering if Bitcoin price actually goes to 85K, why not just tag these long liquidations here as well? because this is a lot of liquidations capital that the market makers can make money on. So those are the three key areas in my opinion: 90k, 97k, and then roughly 80, let's say 81k conservatively. So now going back into the charts here, again, I do expect a move to the downside here, but let's actually go and take a look at the CME gaps. So we have some gap here, basically below the current price range, which is right about, let me copy this box here. So we have this CME gap right here. The price is roughly $91,500 is the lowest number here. So this most likely will get tagged at least. So now we basically have three zones below us: $92,000 or $91,500, then $90,000, and then we have that 81k around here. So these are the most important areas, and then obviously above to 97k. I don't know which way we will go first. I would prefer we go down first and then we go to the upside, because then we can basically blast through that 97k ceiling with force, and we would basically have a reset if the RSI on the daily goes nearby the 50 level, like 55 or even 60, somewhere around here. That would be absolutely perfect. And even if we go to that 80k, 89k level, which would be like a technical perfect bounce level, this would be very nice. I don't know exactly where price obviously will go, but if you have buy orders on all of these price levels, I think that makes a lot of sense. But be mindful, a pullback is very likely, and then eventually we will most likely continue to go even higher as the retail investors eventually come back. But Q3 still looks good to me. Q2, we have a lot of surprises to come as the tariff and negotiations go on. But Scott Bessent has said that in the next couple of days we might get the first deal announcement by Donald Trump. So when that comes, I do believe that the stock market will eventually go up with it. And even now, stock markets, they are actually basically breaking up through this previous resistance zone here. You can see that it had a couple of touches here. We went above it, then we had a retouch of that breakthrough line here, and now we are again above that price range after Monday and Tuesday. So it looks like people are optimistic about the stock market, but I do still expect inflation and supply shocks to hit the market. And if you want to make money on the tariffs, I think I will make a separate video about that. So if you're interested in that video, let me know in the comments. If you want to know how to make money with the tariffs, I will compile some ideas for you guys if you're interested in that. And if you want to trade these markets, I would recommend you guys to use femex.com. When you sign up using my affiliate link, you're eligible for $4,800 in welcome rewards. You can trade pretty much every crypto asset, or at least the most interesting crypto assets on the planet. And one of the key features is if you are using leverage, that the trading fees are extremely low on Femex. So this is the referral code, and there's a link in the description as well to get started with Femex. That's it for this video. I hope you liked it. Consider subscribing to the channel and join the discussion on Discord. It is a free group that you can join from the description as well. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.